Hey, this is Judah from SceneForge Studio, and in this video I'm going to talk about the changes and improvements and the overall experience of version 0.2.0. Now before we get started, it's important to note that this is not version 2.0, it's version 0.2.0, so it is still very much a beta. That being said, these improvements should make your life a lot easier when working with the software. So first and foremost, in the main menu, you'll notice a new option that says Open Editor in Low Fidelity Mode. Now what this basically does is it turns off a bunch of post-processing and environment effects by default that should hopefully make the project run a little smoother when you're first opening it up. But I'm not going to turn that on, and I'll show you the way this works in the actual editor once I open up a project. So I'm going to open up my project here. Alright, so here we are inside a project. This is the T-Rex project, the Jurassic Park project that I worked on in a previous video. And here's what we're going to do. So here we have our nice big fluffy volumetric clouds, and I'm going to go to my viewfinder over here and make sure we're looking at them. So here's the thing. These big beautiful fluffy clouds are very performance heavy, or they're very graphically intensive, and that means they have the potential to slow down your computer significantly. So of course we can go to visuals, we can go to sky settings, and we could just turn them off. But of course then we don't get the clouds in our final picture. So what the new option is, because you see if we go to shoot mode, we don't see the clouds. I'm going to turn this back on. So the new option that you'll see is this editor effects button over here. So if we open this up, you'll see we have a bunch of toggles that can turn on and off effects for the SceneForge editor. And what that means is it is just stage mode. So I can just turn off clouds. So you'll see now the editor might run a lot faster because we're not rendering those in the background, but it does not affect the shoot mode camera and therefore the final picture. So you can see we still have our nice fluffy clouds, but we turn them off while we're editing our scene just so it runs a little bit faster. This, of course, can also be done with post-processing, so that's bloom, the fog, reflections, and indirect lighting. You can also just reset them, so now it's back to normal. So it's just a useful little feature that might make your life easier when working with SceneForge. You'll also notice that there is raindrops on the camera lens, but not in the editor. That is because we moved the raindrops toggle from the post-processing settings over here to the lens options over here. Because quite frankly, the raindrops applying to both the stage mode and shoot mode was just kind of getting annoying, so this way you can control it just for the virtual camera. So those are the changes and improvements that are in this version. But now let's talk about something a little more mundane, a little less fun, and that is file paths. Yes, the most interesting thing. File paths. I'm going to open up the actual SceneForge file, and this is something I don't normally recommend you do, but in order to upgrade to this version, you might have to. So go to your project folder and open up your sfdoc file. Double click this. It should open up in Notepad. If it doesn't, you can just right click, open with. It will default to opening up with SceneForge, but you're going to want to open up with Notepad for this example. So if you're not familiar, this is Json. It's a very human-readable, easy to understand format for data that is usually used in like web technologies. But it's really great because you can see and understand exactly what's going on. So for all of our objects, we have the name, the position, rotation, and so on and so on. And this is a very large file because this is a complicated scene. But if I scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can see the list of all of the imports that we have. Here they are. In the future, this file will probably be encrypted, so you can't accidentally break your project. But for now, while these things are still being worked on, it's important that you are able to access it. So at the bottom, you see we have our imports. So you can see the file path, as well as some options about the import that you configure in the import menu. So let's take a look at, let's use our T-Rex for this example. So we can see the file path. The file path is the C drive, users, me, desktop, new project file, new test project. Then we have the 3D models folder, and then we have our T-Rex object. Oh, awesome, great. We kept their file structure very clean. It's inside the 3D models folder. Awesome. But what happens if I were to move the project folder? So to do that, I'm going to close this. I'm going to close our project. And now I'm going to actually take my new test project folder and move it to my documents folder. Alright, in this case, it's actually in my pictures folder, but my point still stands. So if I were to click this, nothing will happen because it can't find this project. because it's no longer on my desktop. So next time you open up SceneForge, this will disappear, or you can right click just to remove it from the list. So I'm going to open up a project. I'm going to select my new project file. This is in Pictures, inside the folder, and I'm going to select the sfdoc file. So when I open this up, it will get a little confused. And you'll see the only thing it's importing is Eve Gonzalez, and you'll see why. So see models failed to load, shows you the list of the files, click OK. Now let's kind of think about why did it not open these files? Same with the textures on the backdrops. That is because if I were to open up the file, you'll see that the paths to those files are absolute. And what that means is it is a very specific directory that we're in. Because you'll see, let's say, here we go, this T-Rex file. It says that it's inside a new test project folder that's on my desktop. Well, what do you know? It's no longer on my desktop, and that's why we're getting that error. So to fix that is that we converted all the file paths to relative paths, meaning that if you scroll down to Eve Gonzalez, the one model that did import properly, you'll see that the file path is much shorter. That's because it is inside the 3D models folder relative to the project folder. So rather than telling us the entire thing starting at the C drive, it knows, all right, we're already in our project folder, so let's just go to 3D models, then Eve Gonzalez. And because we don't reference stuff outside of that folder, if we move the project folder with everything inside, it won't get confused. Now the one caveat here, caveat, whatever, is that if you were to move the folder and you have files that are outside the folder, it will still get confused. So I'm going to work on a hybrid system, so we kind of have the positives and negatives of both. But for now, you're going to want to relocate your files and then just alter these paths manually to find those. But there's an easier way. If you previously put your models in your 3D models folder, which I hope everyone did, all we have to do is just delete everything up till 3D models. Delete that. And now you'll see the two paths are identical. The slash is just a semantics thing that won't really matter. So if I were to go through here and just remove everything up until 3D models, now it knows that regardless of where the folder is on our computer, it's inside a 3D models folder. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to save that, close this, close the project, and then reopen it up. And you'll see now it's importing the T-Rex and the shaving cream can that is in the project. So some models still failed to load, but we have our T-Rex here. And that's that. That's what's in this new release. So if you're having trouble, just delete those paths or edit them and to refine the objects. And hopefully these new things will improve the performance for the editor overall. But that's something we're really working on, just pushing the limits of what's possible with the way SceneForge works. I'll give you one quick tip if you need to alter the file paths. And that is, if you were to go anywhere on your computer, so in Explorer here, and I want to reference this file, but let's say it got confused, it lost the link. All you have to do is right click on it, do copy as path, then all you have to do is go to here, let's go to our imports, select our file path, including the quotes, and now you can paste that back in, and it will be this updated path. So it just copies the path to the object. Now again, if it's outside the folder, this won't work, but you can just delete this and now you'll have your path. So it's worth experimenting with. It's worth also learning about the way the Windows directory system works behind the scenes, and that will help you with this. But if you've been using a computer for longer than, I don't know, a couple years, you probably got the hang of it already. Thank you so much for watching. This update should be available by the end of today, by the time you're watching this video. And once again, if you're interested in this kind of technology, SceneForge is completely free for most use cases, so I highly suggest downloading it, signing up, and having fun. One more thing before I go is that the website was recently updated to look a lot nicer in my opinion. I much prefer these colors. But if we go to our login page, login for us, and we go to our user portal, this was also completely redesigned to be much more just user-friendly. So we have our sidebar, we have all the information, as well as 3 buttons to take us to the downloads for the editor, the iOS version, which is fantastic, and the Android version as well. In the future, this site is going to be so much more full-featured, so you'll be able to share your projects through the website, accessible from any browser. It's going to be super cool. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that helped when working with the new version of SceneForge. Have a great day. Thank you so much.